Coming up tonight on YCN News, the New Hampshire House and Senate have approved the state's 2-year spending plan. A meeting in Lebanon, New Hampshire about the healthcare marketplace. And Lebanon Junior League baseball team faces off against Contoocook. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN News, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, June 24th. I'm Kurt Weedy, and welcome to YCN News. The New Hampshire state budget has officially been passed by House and Republican lawmakers today. A problem with the $11.3 billion budget is that Governor Maggie Hassan is likely to veto it. However, legislators also passed today a continuing resolution that will keep state government open and functioning. Senate Democratic leader Jeff Woodburn says in a news release today that the budget that passed will leave the state short by $90 million. Money that Governor Hassan wanted for healthcare, education, and road repair costs is not part of this budget. In a response to the budget, Governor Hassan issued a statement, still referring to the spending plan as the Republican budget. The governor says the spending plan for the next 2 years is unbalanced, dishonest about what it founds, and includes unpaid-for corporate tax cuts. Hassan says she is not philosophically opposed to tax cuts, but the cuts cannot come at a price for other economic priorities. Well, a reminder for New Hampshire residents interested in learning more about next year's health care marketplace or insurance exchange. A meeting tomorrow at the Kilton Library in West Lebanon may help you learn more about insurers who will offer plans under the nation's new medical insurance law. The meeting begins at 1:30 p.m. and is scheduled to end at 3 in the afternoon. Employees from the State of New Hampshire Insurance Department will be available to answer any questions you may have. In a related story, it remains to be seen how the nation's highest court will vote regarding federal subsidies for people who have bought insurance under the Affordable Care Act. The wrinkle comes for residents of states including New Hampshire who live in a state that used the federal sign-up program healthcare.gov. The justices will decide if the subsidies that reduce the out-of-pocket monthly bill for federal exchange enrollees will remain. Residents who live in states that set up their own exchange, such as in Vermont, rather than use the federal exchange for insurance sign-up are less affected. Coming up on YCN News, entrepreneurs in Vermont heads up, a motorcycle ride to tell you about. That story coming up on YCN News continues.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Kurt Weedy. Well, a change in labor leadership will happen in New Hampshire on July 1st, the Associated Press is reporting. Glenn Brackett will be the new chapter president of the American Federation of Labor Congress of Industrial Organizations. Outgoing AFL-CIO President Mark McKenzie has served as chapter president since 1989. McKenzie ran again for re-election in May and won, but an election challenge led to Brackett's victory. By union voting rules, ballots for a candidate need to be marked with an X. Instead, 700 ballots received a check mark where the X should have been. The 700 ballots were deemed spoiled. This August, a group of Vermont business investors will be traveling the state by motorcycle and hearing pitches from local entrepreneurs. Vermont Public Radio reports that the second annual Fresh Tracks Road Pitch will kick off this fall and will have a group of investors and business advisors riding the roads of Vermont. The group will stop at 8 different destinations and hear around 45 business pitches from entrepreneurs at each of the locations. The riders hope to give advice and may even invest in an opportunity with a local businessman. A new feature of this year's ride includes a prize award of $450 to the giver of the best pitch at each stop. The tour will begin August 3rd and include stops in Bennington, Brattleboro, and Randolph. On Monday, we told you that we are your source for the locations and times of various July 4th festivities around our region. Well, today we bring you the details of Canaan, New Hampshire's celebration. There will be an indoor and outdoor flea market featuring around 24 tables for vendors at Canaan Hall. The market opens at 10 a.m. and is scheduled to run around 4 p.m., but will stay open till 8 if it's popular. If you'd like to run a table yourself and market your wares, it costs $10 for one table and $15 for two tables. There will also be activities happening all day at Canaan Hall and race vehicle demonstrations at the brand new racetrack at the Canaan Motor Club. A burger barbecue cook-off as well as live music from 4 to 9 p.m. are also happening. And did you think we'd forget the fireworks? They begin at night once the sun sets. Well, after the break on YCN News, Sean Bowman sat down with YCN's very own Greg Urin and talked about the TDS cable provider in Warren, New Hampshire. We'll have that interview for you when YCN News continues.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Mike Pizzone. Well, it was hard to find anything wrong with those conditions today, with practically no humidity and temperatures in the upper 70s. Things won't change much comfort-wise over the next couple days, with temperatures bottoming out at about 53 degrees tonight, before another nice day tomorrow with a high of 76 and increasing clouds late in the afternoon. We could see some rain tomorrow evening though, with a 30% chance for showers around midnight and a low of about 56 degrees. Those showers could continue into the early morning hours Friday, but clouds will begin to clear as the morning progresses, making for partly sunny skies and a high of 72 degrees. Skies will remain partly cloudy Friday evening, with temperatures bottoming out at around 54 degrees. Now let's take a look at our community calendar to see what's happening in the region. The Claremont Farmers Market will be held tomorrow from 4 to 7 p.m. at Broad Street Park in Claremont, New Hampshire. The market is held rain or shine and features locally grown foods as well as live music. The Ladies Auxiliary of the Croydon Fire Department will hold its weekly bingo night tomorrow beginning at 6:30 p.m. at the Claremont Senior Center off Maple Avenue in Claremont, New Hampshire. The event is open to anyone ages 18 or older. The Abbott Library in Sunapee, New Hampshire will host its weekly chess group night tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. The group is for players of all ages and experiences, whether they know the game or not. Well, it may be summer, but that doesn't mean we're done covering local baseball. So I headed over to Kobe Sawyer College yesterday to watch a pair of local Junior Legion teams go at it on the diamond. The teams headed into the game with very different records, with Lebanon Post 22 at a perfect 2-0 and Kentucky Post 81 coming in winless at 0-1. But it didn't take long before Kentucky crossed the plate with its first run of the season, as Cole Hapgood's RBI double in the bottom of the first inning had the home team celebrating a quick 1-0 lead. Jake Viersen did his part from the mound, shutting Lebanon down in order in the second, and Post 81 fed off that momentum in the bottom of the frame, crossing the plate with 3 more runs with help from this RBI single by Callahan Luce, a wild pitch, and a costly walk with the bases loaded. Lebanon kept digging in the top of the third, as this timely double to the gap in right center by Cade Robinson eventually led to the team's first run, when this error on a hard-hit grounder to third allowed Robinson to score from second to cut the deficit to 4-1. Kentucky kept Lebanon off the board in the fourth with help from some solid defensive play behind Viersen, but Robinson struck again in the fifth when this fielder's choice ended up cutting his team's deficit to 4-2. Matthew Braley made it a 1-run game an inning later with this single up the middle, but Post 81 added some much-needed insurance in the bottom of the sixth when Viersen's RBI single here upped his team's lead to 5-3. Lebanon rallied in its final at-bat with a tying runner on second, but relief pitcher Dan Meserve induced the game-ending pop-out to center to clinch his team's first victory of the season in dramatic fashion. Kentucky will look to pick up its second straight win today when it hosts Alton, and Lebanon will try and bounce back tomorrow when it travels to play Plymouth. That does it for YCN Sports. I'm Mike Pizzone.
All right, Mike, thanks. Well, coming up next, Capital Connections host John O'Connor continues his very interesting interview with Colonel Clint Granger about the Vietnam conflict. We'll have part 3 of that interview when YCN News continues.
The YCN News continues in a moment.